was at the very pleasant evening at the Isle of Man Sports Awards last night. I was on a table sat next to Stephen Bevan. Conversation was flowing, but there was an empty space on the table. There was no Tony Mepham next to me, but you were there, weren't you, Tony?
I was there, sneaked in there round the back. It was really good. Once again, absolutely fantastic, and it's great to see young people coming up and receiving their certificates for sort of future support from the Sports Council, which is so important for them. But I like to take on board the young ones that come in at maybe 9-10 years of age, and then in 5 years' time they're usually superstars, and it's just nice to see them progress and grow up and everything else. And you see that of some of the award winners last night who you sort of have been there now for 10 plus years on sports aid grants, and it's so important for them, and well done to government and everyone who works hard to make sure that gets processed to give them some money.
How are your hands this morning? Because a lot of clapping went on last night.
Yeah, it's just a great event, and it's just nice to see, and it seems to get the tables get closer and closer and closer because they're getting so many people rammed in. But even last night up in the gallery, there's so many people there, and it's such an important event for everyone who's involved in sport. I know Kim's been there, Dave's been there, and myself, and long may it continue. And it just shows that sport is so important on the island, with so many people coming through and going on to the international stage as well.
It was indeed, and so many fantastic athletes were recognised last night. Obviously Charlotte Atkinson, Jamie McCanny scooping the big prizes, but so many young athletes. It makes you wonder what you've done with your life, really, doesn't it, when you see these 16 and 17 year olds going up on stage to collect some accolades for their fantastic sporting achievements. Dave Christian, it was a very, very good night for Douglas Rugby Club last night.
Yeah, it was. They had a tremendous season last season, Chris, and not so much. Well, I'm not going to decry from the efforts of the first team, because that was fantastic. The season went right down to the wire. They had a playoff against De La Salle. Looked like they had it in the bag. It was a narrow game, only a couple of points in it. Adam Boyd very lucky at the close of the game not to get a yellow card. That might have changed it altogether. So a real nail biter in the season that went down to the end of that season. The hard work, I think the award that stands out for me a little bit more than the team award, which was very important, I agree, but was the Coach of the Year award for Carl Murray, because Douglas's first team obviously had their success. They've made it to North 1 West, and they're not too far away from promotion from there this season either. But the second team won the Sherman Wilson Manx Shield for the first time ever. And that shows that he's not just focusing on the stars in the first team. He's actually looking a little bit deeper at the infrastructure in the club and building up to make sure there's a healthy second team there to move into those first team places in years to come. So Carl Murray, I think that was the award that stood out for me. Clearly because it's a rugby award as well, but it sort of indicated to me that his work isn't just focused with his first team. He's actually looking at the bigger picture.
And speaking to him afterwards, he's clearly got a passion for coaching of all standards. He doesn't just focus on the first team. He spoke in detail to me about how he wants to improve the coaching in island secondary schools, because that's something he feels can really be improved.
Yeah, absolutely. And the secondary schools, they follow the curriculum that they have to deliver, and the staff aren't specialised in those areas, or a lot of the staff aren't specialised in those areas. I know at Ramsey Grammar School, Darren Hydson is very rugby focused, and Casey Davies similarly down at Castle Rushen High School. But to try and help upskill some of those teachers that are guiding those children through the national curriculum, which says that they have to do X number of sports, but actually not make sure that they complete the curriculum, but make sure that they get into the sport, they enjoy it, and if they want to take it up full time at a later date, then fair play to them. But actually make it an enjoyable experience rather than just a churn through the numbers.
And both Carl and indeed the whole team were able to enjoy last night in full, because they knew by the time they picked up their award that their match with Manchester was off.
Yeah, I mean, the early calls were made yesterday with that. We did some pitch inspections yesterday morning locally. Douglas's report was that the pitch was harder than the car park, At Ramsey, they couldn't get a key in the pitch, let alone a stud, and that was round about 1 o'clock yesterday afternoon. So we took the early call to take the domestic games down straight away. That gives everybody a bit of certainty. But the teams, the games for Douglas, Vagabonds and Ramsey were all dependent on air travel. As you can see, air travel hasn't gone so well in the United Kingdom today, particularly from Manchester and Liverpool. The M62 corridor is closed, and that would have given a real problem for the teams travelling here as well as Douglas travelling away. So as soon as the haggling between RFU North and Flybe had settled down, we were able to announce quite early on yesterday afternoon that all games were going to be off. And Flybe, fair play, because a lot of people will knock them, and I know they've got this fly maybe nonsense that's trotted out repeatedly whenever a plane's 5 minutes late. But they've taken the bull by the horns with the weather disruption, and they've said straight away anybody travelling on one of our aircraft between the 1st and the 4th of April, 1st and 4th of March, will be able to rebook at no charge at a later date, provided there are seats available on the aircraft. And that's the negotiation bit that went on. And as soon as that was settled up, I haven't heard on Douglas yet, but Ramsey and Vagabonds games are already rescheduled for the 28th of April.